is Kobe Bryant, a name synonymous with the legend of world basketball, who has become an unforgettable memory in the hearts of fans. But his departure in a horrific helicopter crash in 2020 left much pain and many unanswered questions. Was this merely a simple accident, or were there dark conspiracies hidden behind it? Today, let's travel back in time to that fateful day, January 26, 2020. To explore the developments of this shocking incident, analyze the mistakes that led to the tragedy, and draw lessons to avoid similar accidents in the future. But before delving into details, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the the channel to support our team. Los Angeles County, California, USA, has a notable geographical feature. The Santa Monica Mountains run along the Pacific coast. The intersection of mountains and sea here often creates dense fog layers covering the foothills, affecting visibility and being one of the main causes of many aviation accidents in the area. Yet, after the gold rush, Los Angeles still became the most populous county in the US with over 9.8 million people, according to 2022. Kobe Bryant's fateful flight with his daughter Gianna took place on a beautiful Sunday, January 26, 2020. At 9:06 a.m., the Sikorsky S-76B helicopter with registration N72EX took off from John Wayne Airport heading to Camarillo Airport. This helicopter had been used for 21 years, equipped with two modern turboshaft engines, capable of operating well in both good and bad weather conditions. However, there is a notable detail. This helicopter was not equipped with a black box, also known as a flight data recorder, a crucial device that helps investigators reconstruct the flight's events and determine the cause of the accident. Additionally, the Terrain Awareness and Warning System, TAWS, a system that helps pilots recognize and avoid ground obstacles, was also absent from this aircraft. Moreover, after Island Express purchased a helicopter in 2015, it removed a cockpit voice recorder, while also altering the interior design, reducing the number of seats and replacing them with more luxurious ones to attract customers. Speaking of Island Express, this is a company providing private helicopter charter services, specializing in flights to Catalina Island. Notably, the operational history of this company is not entirely clean. They have experienced 4 accidents since 1985, and in all 4 incidents, Island Express was determined to be the primary responsible party. As for Eric Zobayan, 50 years old, he was the chief pilot of Island Express. He was an experienced and seasoned pilot with over 8,500 flight hours, including more than 1,250 hours piloting the Sikorsky S-76B helicopter, the type Kobe had chartered. Kobe. It could be said that Era and Kobe were friends, and Kobe had absolute trust in Era's skills. Kobe began using helicopters for travel in 2018 after encountering many inconveniences due to the horrific traffic congestion in Los Angeles. In an interview, he shared that traffic in Los Angeles was truly a nightmare. He once missed his daughter's school performance because of traffic and felt very frustrated and regretful. Therefore, to save time, Kobe chose helicopters as his primary mode of transportation. On the fateful day of January 26, 2020, Kobe Bryant planned to take his daughter Gianna to participate in a youth basketball tournament at the Manga Sports Academy. He was the coach for his daughter's team and always stood by her side on her journey to pursue her dream of becoming a professional basketball player. As for Gianna, the 13-year-old girl, she inherited the talent and passion for basketball from her legendary father, and always aspired to one day compete in the American Professional Women's Basketball League, the WNBA. To save time, Kobe decided to use a helicopter for travel. They planned to depart at 9:45 a.m. but ended up leaving 45 minutes earlier. John Wayne Airport, where they departed, is about a 2-hour drive from Camarillo Airport, where the basketball tournament was held. Meanwhile, traveling by helicopter would only take them about 30 minutes. But that day, the weather did not favor them. Thick fog covered all of Los Angeles, severely reducing visibility. Even the Los Angeles Police Department had issued a flight ban for all helicopters that day, because the weather conditions did not meet the safety standards for visual flight rules. making it very difficult for pilots to observe and control the aircraft. They stipulated that to be able to take off, Era Zobayan, the chief pilot, had two choices. Either switch to flying under instrument flight rules for bad weather conditions, or postpone the flight until the weather improved. So, in that situation, which solution did pilot Era Zobayan choose? Before understanding his decision, we need to better grasp the difference between the two types of aviation flight. Visual flight, also known as visual flight rules, VFR, and instrument flight rules, IFR. Imagine you are a pilot flying a helicopter in a clear blue sky with fluffy white clouds drifting by. The ground below is clearly visible. You can see houses, roads, valleys, and rivers. That is the ideal condition for visual flight rules, meaning you use your eyes to observe, navigate, and control the aircraft. Visual flight allows pilots more choices and freedom in selecting flight paths and is often used for short flights under favorable weather conditions. But what if the weather is bad, with fog and limited visibility? At this point, pilots can no longer rely on their eyes. They must use the instruments in the cockpit, known as instrument flight. Imagine driving in thick fog. You cannot see the road or surrounding houses. Thus, you must completely rely on headlights, rearview mirrors, a compass, and especially a map to determine your direction. Instrument flight is similar. Pilots must trust the instruments and numbers to navigate and maintain altitude, and they must strictly follow air traffic control instructions. Therefore, the risks in instrument flight rules are much higher than in visual flight. Returning to the Kobe Bryant accident, as we know, the weather in Los Angeles that morning was very poor, with thick fog and limited visibility. Visibility at Burbank Airport was even insufficient for takeoff under visual flight rules. So, in this situation, which option did pilot Era Zobayan choose? In theory, with his certified license, Era could have chosen instrument flight mode, relying on cockpit instruments to control the helicopter. However, the twist is that Era's company, Island Express, was not licensed for instrument flight. And switching to instrument flight would also mean longer flight times, something Island Express always tried to avoid to ensure business efficiency. Ultimately, Era Zobayan chose a third, risky solution, flying under special visual flight rules. This rule is essentially a relaxation of visual flight regulations, allowing takeoff even when visibility does not meet standard requirements. However, this must be approved by air traffic control after they clear the airspace and ensure there are no obstacles. After requesting and receiving approval from air traffic control, Era and the passengers waited over 10 minutes until takeoff was permitted at 9:06 a.m., before the helicopter departed from John Wayne Airport and flew north along Highway 5. The flight plan was clearly outlined. They would fly over Burbank City, then turn west onto Highway 118 to reach Camarillo Airport. Since Highway 118 does not lead directly to the airport, they would have to switch to Highway 101 and continue flying west until reaching their destination. However, the bad weather and the pilot's recklessness caused the flight to deviate from the plan. According to the recording between Era and the air traffic control station, ANI's, the helicopter was flying at an altitude of 426 meters, 335 meters above the base of the fog. In other words, the helicopter was flying in the clouds. This is an extremely dangerous action and violates both visual and special visual flight rules. Perhaps the weather had gradually improved, visibility increased, and Era decided to switch to normal visual flight mode while contacting the Southern California Air Traffic Control Station. If following visual flight rules, he would still have to fly at a low altitude to avoid contact with the fog. But ahead was the Santa Monica mountain range. Continuing to fly low would affect radar signals and increase the risk of crashing into the mountains. Moreover, beyond the mountain range was a basin area with thick fog. Faced with this dilemma, pilot Era Zobayan made a wrong decision. He took the aircraft into the fog and increased altitude to fly above the cloud layer, waiting for an opportunity. At that moment, the Southern California Air Traffic Control staff changed shifts. The new staff member had to contact Era to exchange information and confirm identity. The distraction in that dangerous moment caused Era to lose focus, leading to a control error, causing the helicopter to lose altitude at a dizzying rate of 120 meters per minute. Just seconds later, the tragedy occurred. The helicopter plunged at a speed of 300 kilometers per hour and crashed into the ground. A loud explosion echoed, with debris scattering everywhere. The helicopter shattered into hundreds of pieces, and all 9 people on board, including the legend Kobe Bryant, perished. A resident called the police, voice trembling. "We heard the sound of an airplane but couldn't see anything. We could only hear the engine noise growing louder and then suddenly stopping, followed by a loud explosion. We ran out and saw black smoke rising from the hill." Los Angeles fire and police forces quickly arrived at the scene. But the small fire that broke out after the collision was quickly extinguished. The scene before their eyes was terrifying. The helicopter was no longer in its original shape. Debris scattered everywhere, with no signs of life remaining. News of the accident involving Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others on the helicopter struck like a bolt from the blue, shocking the global sports community. Fans were utterly stunned and heartbroken by the tragic news, as Kobe Bryant was an American basketball legend. His talent and strong personality inspired millions around the world. His passing left an irreplaceable void in the hearts of basketball enthusiasts. Alongside the grief and sorrow, the accident also sparked numerous controversies and questions. According to the autopsy report, Kobe suffered fractures to his lower body and right arm, facial disfigurement, and severe brain damage. His cause of death was determined to be impact injuries. The other victims had similar causes of death. This led many to question why an experienced pilot like Ara Zobayan decided to take off in such poor weather conditions. Was he too stubborn and reckless? Was he pressured by Kobe, known for his confidence and decisiveness? Before the tragic accident of Kobe Bryant could settle, another scandal erupted, further fueling public outrage. 8 Los Angeles police officers secretly took photos of the accident scene, including images of the victims' bodies, and shared them internally. Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's widow, was completely devastated upon learning of this. "They disrespected the deceased." She stated that their actions were inhumane, causing additional pain to the victims' families. Vanessa was determined to bring the matter to light and seek justice for her husband and daughter. She sued the Los Angeles Police Department and ultimately received $16 million in compensation. While the photo scandal was still unresolved, the investigation into the cause of the accident remained at a standstill. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, and the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, got involved but faced many difficulties because the ill-fated helicopter was not equipped with a black box or cockpit voice recorder. Initial investigation results indicated no technical issues with the aircraft, and the likely cause of the accident was pilot error. But what led a seasoned pilot like Ara Zobayan to make such a grave mistake? The answer could only be found from the scant clues left behind. The NTSB launched a media campaign urging the public to provide photos and videos of the helicopter from that day. Fortunately, because the helicopter was flying at a low altitude, many people noticed and recorded its images. Along with the recorded conversation between the pilot and air traffic control, they were able to reconstruct the sequence of events. So, what caused this horrific tragedy? Let's analyze the notable details from the NTSB investigation report. First, regarding pilot Ara Zobayan, it must be acknowledged that his skills were undeniable. He was the chief pilot of Island Express and also trained other pilots in the company. Ara's record was nearly flawless, with excellent performance in tests, including handling emergency situations. Many aircraft encountered issues or fly into bad weather. So why did such an experienced pilot make erroneous decisions leading to catastrophic consequences? It turns out that Island Express, Ara's company, had a serious flaw in its operational procedures. They used only a single pilot for each flight. According to experts, this places immense pressure on the pilot, making them prone to errors, and also makes monitoring the pilot's activities more difficult. So, should Island Express also bear responsibility for this accident? Before each flight, the pilot and company typically assess risks based on weather conditions together. However, in Ara Zobayan's case, Island Express management, despite knowing there was fog along the flight path, trusted Ara's skills and did not intervene. They believed that with his experience, Ara could handle the situation. Especially since the day before, in even worse weather conditions, he had completed the flight excellently. The complacency of Island Express management clearly contributed to this tragedy. Another notable point is that, in theory, when inadvertently flying into bad weather, a pilot should immediately reduce speed, use autopilot to gain altitude, and declare an emergency to air traffic control to receive assistance. But in the Kobe Bryant accident, Ara Zobayan did the opposite. He accelerated and attempted to fly above the fog layer without notifying air traffic control. So why did he take such unusual actions? Could it be, as many speculated, that Kobe Bryant, with his strong personality and demand for perfection, pressured Ara, forcing him to take off in poor weather conditions? According to a pilot who previously worked at Island Express, the truth was completely opposite. He shared that Kobe greatly respected pilots and always prioritized safety. Kobe never pressured or asked them to fly in dangerous weather conditions. I once had to cancel his flight due to weather reasons. This pilot revealed, and he completely agreed. So if it wasn't pressure from Kobe, what reason caused Ara to make a mistake? Perhaps the close relationship between him and Kobe became a double-edged sword. Ara was almost Kobe's personal pilot. Whenever he needed to travel, Kobe requested Ara as the pilot. The friendship, Kobe's absolute trust, and the reputation as a seasoned pilot that everyone gave him made Ara not want to fail. He always tried to make every flight the most perfect. As a way to affirm himself and respond to Kobe's trust. That day, because they had to wait for another helicopter to complete its flight, their schedule was delayed by about 10 minutes. This made Ara feel stressed, eager to make up for the time. Therefore, when the weather showed signs of improvement, even though ahead was a mountain area shrouded in fog, he recklessly took off. And this is a classic example of a common psychological phenomenon. We try to stick to the original plan, even when there are signs that it is no longer suitable. The more we want to prove ourselves, the more prone we are to making mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes bring irreparable consequences. So is this the real reason why Ara Zobayan lost his life? Are there any other factors that played an important role leading to this tragedy? As introduced, this helicopter was fully equipped to perform instrument flight rules in bad weather conditions. So why didn't Ara, a seasoned pilot, choose this safe solution? Perhaps he was overconfident in himself, believing he could control the situation, believing he could overcome the challenge. But that excessive confidence led him to a more dangerous trap: spatial disorientation. Spatial disorientation is the silent enemy of every pilot, even the most experienced ones. It often occurs when the aircraft flies into dense cloud areas that limit visibility. Initially, when a helicopter was still flying at low altitude, below the fog layer, Ara could still perceive the position, direction, and attitude of the aircraft through visual cues, and observing outside the cockpit. However, when flying into the dense cloud layer, everything suddenly became blurred. He could no longer see anything. At this point, his brain began to have difficulty processing information about position, direction, and speed. The sense of space was disrupted. Ara began to experience dangerous illusions. And unfortunately, a small mistake by air traffic control at this very moment inadvertently aided this silent enemy. When Ara Zobayan was struggling to orient himself in the thick fog, the air traffic control station changed shifts. The new air traffic controller took over the task and immediately contacted Ara, asking him to press the identification button to determine the helicopter's position on the radar screen. To comply with the air traffic control request, Ara had to turn his head, look down at the control panel to find the button. This very action intensified the illusion. Ara, already affected by disorientation, became even more confused. He completely lost control, unable to perceive the actual attitude of the aircraft. The helicopter, at this moment, was tilting to the left, but Ara felt it was climbing. So why didn't he look at the instruments in the cockpit to check and confirm his feeling? The answer lies in his own experience and flying habits. Although Era was a seasoned pilot, he had very little experience flying by instruments, so in this situation, he still trusted his own perception and vision more. But when he was flying by sight, moreover, the illusion made him firmly believe the helicopter was climbing. Therefore, instead of observing the instruments, he tried to find a reference point outside the window. The Kobe Bryant accident clearly showed the danger of spatial disorientation, a phenomenon that can happen to any pilot, whether experienced or novice. Therefore, to limit the risks caused by spatial disorientation, instrument flight rules were established, forcing pilots to absolutely trust the instruments when flying in bad weather conditions. Training on how to recognize and handle spatial disorientation has also become an indispensable, important part of pilot training programs. After more than a year of investigation, on February 9, 2021, the NTSB officially announced the results. The direct cause of the accident was determined to be pilot Arai Zubayan experiencing spatial disorientation, leading to erroneous decisions while piloting the helicopter in poor weather conditions. This channel also dismissed rumors about Kobe's will, as the accident occurred too suddenly, leaving the victims no time to react. All 9 people on the helicopter were confirmed dead immediately after the aircraft impacted the ground. But is Arai Zubayan solely responsible? Vanessa, Kobe's wife, sued Island Express for negligence leading to the tragic accident. According to her, the biggest fault lies with pilot Arai Zubayan, who was irresponsible, ignored safety regulations, and caused the tragedy. However, Island Express, to evade responsibility, blamed the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, specifically the air traffic controller. They argued that the air traffic controller's excessive communication with pilot Arai Zubayan distracted him and was the cause of the accident. So what is the truth? Who is truly responsible for the deaths of Kobe Bryant and the other 8 victims? Is it solely due to pilot Arai Zubayan's error, or also due to the negligence and irresponsibility of both Island Express and the FAA? We may never know the truth because those involved no longer have the opportunity to speak. But this incident has raised painful questions about responsibility and flight safety procedures. However, there is one thing aviation experts agree on. Spatial disorientation is one of the leading causes of aircraft accidents. Approximately 30% of helicopter accidents stem from this cause, and this figure is no lower for other types of aircraft. A typical example is the accident involving John F. Kennedy Jr., son of former U.S. President John F. Kennedy. In 1999, the plane he was piloting crashed into the sea, killing him, his wife, and his sister-in-law. Investigators believe the cause of the accident was John F. Kennedy Jr. experiencing spatial disorientation while flying at night. The tragedy of Kobe Bryant is a reminder to all of us that safety must be prioritized in every field and circumstance. No matter who you are, professionalism, a sense of responsibility, and caution are crucial to avoid mistakes that cost lives. Our story today ends here. Thank you for listening to this true story with Con Ha. Before leaving, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel to follow more fascinating stories. And now, Con Ha bids farewell and looks forward to seeing you in future videos.
If the veil stirred, subscribe and meet the next encounter.